we have seen this matchup before. In fact, we saw it in the national championship just last season where UConn made quick work of San Diego State. It did not look like a great matchup for the Aztecs. Is there anything different this year?
I don't think so. And I think UConn might be even better this year, honestly. Good on San Diego State for carrying the torch for the Mountain West. And thank God, after I was pounding the table for Utah State, that they won one before just getting absolutely obliterated in the second round. But ultimately, Chelsa, when I look at these Sweet 16 matchups, I like a lot of chalk. I really do. And then I feel dumb, and I'm like, oh, you're being so chalky. And yet, at the same time, as I say that, this has been a chalky tournament. Almost all of the favorites won yesterday. I feel like this is a situation where UConn could just roll San Diego State like they did last year. I might look at the under. I'm tempted because I feel like what San Diego State does, which is what they did last year, is they want to be physical, they want to be slow, they want to be deliberate. They play great defense. The question is, even the best defense, I don't know if it can slow down UConn because they have so many different individuals that can beat you. I mean, whether it's Klingon on the inside, whether it's Tristan Newton running up and down the court, whether it's Cam Spencer hitting shots from outside, they can just beat you in myriad ways. You can't just focus on one guy. I feel like UConn maybe laying the points is probably the way to go. I'm not making any official plays until I take a harder look at these games because they were just set late in the afternoon yesterday or late last night. But I would lean UConn based on what we've seen thus far. They have looked fantastic.
Yeah, on both ends of the ball. Not only has the offense been firing on all cylinders, nobody has scored 60 points on this team in the tournament thus far. Granted, they've only played 2 games. They played Stetson, which we know is a 16 seed. But even against Northwestern, Northwestern only scoring 58 against this UConn team. And then you have San Diego State coming in, who is not necessarily an inefficient offense. They're just not a team that gets up and down the court. So probably going to be another low-scoring affair between these two. But this is a relatively low total. So I'm not sure if I'm going to play an under just yet. And I'm not sure if I'm going to lay the points. Do you think there's another way around this? Like, do you think you look at UConn in the futures market as opposed to, like, laying spreads on individual games? Like, I hate laying big numbers. It feels like it's definitely the play. Like, it's UConn or nothing for me. But I'm just wondering if this is a bet worth making.
Chelsa, let me read your mind. Oh, it's early. Maybe I just want some time to close my eyes and rest my eyes for a second.
I think you're going to be on the Boilers here, right?
Yeah, I'm going to be on Purdue. They've looked extremely dominant thus far. Not only is Zach Edey a reliable source of offense and defense, mind you, it's not just the offensive stats that have been flying off the page. He also has 6 blocks thus far. I guess you could say that they haven't played like great caliber of teams because obviously when you're a 1 seed, you get the easier path and you play the 16 seed and you play the upstart teams. But Purdue, since their guard play has been much better, it's not the freshman guard that they had last year. They have guys who can make the big shots and take the pressure off of Zach Edey. I know Gonzaga's been hot down the stretch, and they certainly have the tournament experience. I don't think the spotlight's going to be too bright for them. I just think the way that Purdue is playing right now, it's really hard for me to go against Zach Edey and company. Zach Edey, over his last 2 games, 53 points, 35 rebounds, 6 blocks. Is there somebody on Gonzaga that you think can go toe-to-toe with Zach Edey? I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either. And the thing about Gonzaga is they played so well over the past couple months. They're 16-2 since January 18th. But the problem is those 2 losses came to St. Mary's, and that conference is just so weak. Like, it's anytime you go 16-2, good on you. No matter what conference you play in, it's hard to win in college basketball. But that conference is so top-heavy. I mean, it is Gonzaga, it's St. Mary's, and it's everyone else. So I tend to put an asterisk by that number. And I'm like you, Zach Edey has been unbelievable. And plus, we forget that Purdue has great guard play with Braden Smith and Fletcher Loyer. Those guys can light it up as well. So I'm with you on Purdue. I can't help get over the fact that I just think Houston is the right side here. And I'm kind of surprised that it's only 3.5. I feel like it should be a larger number. Matt just put that in the chat as well. 3.5 seems really short to me. And I love that Houston got a test from Texas A&M and then absolutely asserted themselves in the overtime. That defense of theirs is unbelievable. I love how efficient they are on offense. They're a clutch team. They showed that in that win over Texas A&M last night. I'm going to lay it with Houston here. Duke is better than I think I have given them credit for, because if you think about it, look, they're 9-3 in their last 12 games overall. And a couple of those losses, as we know, North Carolina at the end of the season, and to your red-hot NC State Wolfpack. So maybe I haven't been giving the Devils enough credit, but ultimately I think this is Houston's game to win. I think it's a short number. I'm going to be on the Cougs.
I feel like on paper, Houston's probably the better team here. I think McCain gives me pause because it's maybe something that doesn't go into the numbers as much as it probably should. But both these teams, juggernauts on both sides of the ball. Houston, of course, the number 2 defense in the land, at least according to KenPom. Offense has been pretty solid, too, in the top 15. Duke in the top 20 on each side of the ball as well. But I'm not sure if Duke has faced a defense this good. Like, Houston is extremely physical. And we did see some physicality from JMU, or at least they tried, but it did not work against this Duke defense, who has really turned it on down the stretch as well. Do you have a strong feel, or, is one game one on your watch list?
I do, Chelsea. I put this out on X for the last couple weeks, and I reinforced it last night. As soon as the brackets came out and I saw the West bracket, I was texting my cousin, said, I want to know what your feeling is. I said, Clemson is going to the Final Four. It was my first reaction.
Ooh.
Everyone was on New Mexico versus Clemson. I didn't buy it. New Mexico lost to Air Force a few weeks ago. Now all of a sudden we love New Mexico because they went on a run. Clemson has P.J. Hall inside. They have the prerequisite big. They're great at guarding the perimeter. They make their free throws, and they don't turn the ball over. The reason people don't like Clemson is because it's Clemson. And it's Brad Brommel, who people think is just okay, not great. But if you look at them stylistically, they can guard you on the perimeter. They got Joseph Girard to transfer from Syracuse. They can make threes. They execute, and they have the big inside in P.J. Hall. I like Clemson to beat Arizona. And on the other side of the bracket, guys, they have Alabama, who Clemson beat on the road in the non-conference, and North Carolina, who Clemson beat on the road this year. They also should have beat Duke at Duke, but they had a terrible call on Tyrese Proctor with 1 second left to get 2 free throws and beat them. So in that matchup, I do like Clemson. In the other matchup, Alabama, North Carolina. I've been sort of waiting for North Carolina to regress to the mean. Teams could not make 3-pointers against them earlier in the year. Then teams got hot and they struggled. The problem is they have R.J. Davis. And R.J. Davis is a first-team All-American. And R.J. Davis is going to be a great pro. And people are going to tell you that he's too short like Jalen Brunson. Not going to happen. So I think North Carolina will get by Alabama because Alabama just doesn't play defense. And they rely too much on the 3, and North Carolina does not. But you're right. Should be points galore in that game.